الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير حج محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. كيف حالكم جميعا يا أيها الأخوة والأخوات في هذا الصباح؟ والحمد لله كل يوم نحن نقصر في حق الله عز وجل وفي حق أنفسنا. Each day, every day if you will, we fall short in regards to the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the right pertaining to our own selves. That's each and every one of us. As the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have said, was translated to understand, each day the soul frees itself. So in other words, you either purify your soul or you corrupt your soul. And this is true. We all know our shortcomings. I wanted to remind us, inshallah ta'ala, if we will, of this golden advice from Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya rahmatullah ta'ala alayh on how to achieve being carefree, so to speak. How to achieve being carefree. What do I mean by that? How to let go the burdens, the worries, the anxiety, the pressure that we feel from this dunya. Ibn Qayyim says in beautiful about 4 statements, if you will, number it correctly, something that would give us, if we truly reflect on these statements, inshallah, will help us, become carefree, so to speak, in the dunya. Imam Ibn Qayyim, he says, لا تحمل هم الدنيا فإنها لله. He says, the first thing he says is, do not carry the worries of this life, for rarely it is in the hands of Allah. Right? Do not carry the worries of this life, for rarely is what? Is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Major. Because if we were to leave everything which is not in our control in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how much well off will we be? Honestly. If you didn't have to burden yourself with the worries that you face, how is this going to get done? How will this happen? And so forth. If you truly left it in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal, what do you think will happen? So, that's one statement. He continues. He says, وَلَا تَحْمِلْ حَمَّ الرِّزْقِ فَإِنَّهُ مِنَ اللَّهِ. He says, nor carry the worries of provisions, okay, of sustenance, because that is from Allah. And this is beautiful because we don't have to break our neck to wonder how we will be provided for. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Razzaq. He's the all provider. And He provides for us constantly. Alright? So, understanding that allows us to stay within the bounds of the Sharia when seeking our rizq. We don't have to sell our integrity. We don't have to sell our soul. We don't have to compromise our deen, so to speak, just to get some fulus or to get some type of provisions. We don't have to do any of those things because we know that rizq is from Allah. Okay? This is important. Because many people compromise their character. Many people compromise their worth when it comes to seeking provisions, not knowing that their provisions is already orchestrated from Allah Jalla wa Ala first and foremost. So when you hear Ibn Qayyim mentioning this that anxiety, that worry, the next statement he says, وَلَا تَحْمِلْ حَمَّ الْمُسْتَقْبَلِ. Right? فَإِنَّهُ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ. Important, because a lot of our brothers and sisters suffer from anxiety. And I know all of us get anxious, especially when we want to get something done. And know that anxiety really deals with issues that are fil mustaqbal, meaning that's in the future, as opposed to things in the past, which normally deals with grief. So Ibn Qayyim is telling us here, don't carry the worries of the future, because rather that lies in the hands of Allah. First and foremost, you don't know if you're going to make it to that moment. So your life depends upon Allah Jalla wa Ala granting you, all right, that permission to live and to ascertain or to reach that part or that moment within the future. So why concern yourself over something or carry the burden or the worries of those things when the only outcome is only with Allah Azza wa Jalla? So Ibn Qayyim is telling us in 3 statements, and each one get good. He starts off with, don't carry the worries of this life, because it belongs to Allah. Right? Because you leave it to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He says, don't carry the worries of risk, provisions, because that comes from Allah. And don't carry the worries of the future or the anxieties of the future, because that is in the hands of Allah. But then he says at the end, and this is where the golden advice comes in. He says, فَقَدْ أَحْمَلْ هَمٍ وَاحِدًا كَيْفَ تَرَضَ اللَّهِ. Our focus. He says, carry only one thing. Carry only one thing. SubhanAllah. Can you imagine what this is, brothers and sisters? He says, carry only one thing. He says, كَيْفَ تَرَضَ اللَّهِ. How to please Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's the only concern that you and I should have. And you say, well, that's not realistic. Not realistic, right? But in actual reality, it is very realistic. So he says, don't carry, he says, carry the concern of how you want to please Allah Azza wa Jalla. That should be our ultimate mindset. We're so boggled down on how to do everything in the dunya, and the dunya have given us nothing but heartache, pain, right, and temporary pleasure. But if we would focus our mind on how to please Allah Azza wa Jalla, and this suffices to myself, half of the stuff that I'd be worrying about, I wouldn't really be worrying about. Because I'd really be worried about, is Allah pleased with me? If I do an act, is Allah pleased that I've done that act? If I carry out something, is Allah pleased with me? That should be the only thing, not how Fulan and Alan thinks about me. How not Fulan and Alan, might rock out with me, or Alan, or how these people might. None of that stuff doesn't matter. What truly matters is, how did you please Allah? Did you please Allah? So the Shaykh, he says, this should be the concern that you would carry with you. He says, لِأَنَّكَ أَرَضِيتَ اللَّهِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْكَ. He says, because if you please Allah, Allah will pleases you. وَأَرَضَاكَ. Right? Allah will pleases you. وَكَفَاكَ. And He will fulfill you. And He says, وَأَغْنَاكَ. And He will enrich you. So in other words, ride with Allah. That's the point. Put your trust, put your concern, your focus in Allah Azza wa Jalla, and everything else that you worry about in the dunya, whether it's richness, whether it's this, whether it's that, whether it's that, you get it back with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you all of that. And that's what I pretty much wanted to share from the golden advice today from Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya rahmatullah ta'ala alayh. Because wallahi, when I think about it, that's if I apply that myself, how much carefree I would be in the dunya. A lot of times you see a brother, you see a sister, what's going on? Why you feel the way you feel? Or what's going on? Because it's something connected or associated with the dunya. So they got all of this stress that's boggling them down. But if you ask them, okay, did you make sure you prayed on time? How do you feel if you miss a prayer? How do you feel if you don't fast? How do you feel if you disobey your parents? How do you feel if you disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. They don't have a lot of these same worries or stress that they have with the dunya. They displeases somebody from the dunya, whether it's their wife, whether it's their husband, whether it's a friend of theirs, or whether it's someone from the dunya. It bothers them all day. It throws their mood off. But it don't bother you that you disobeyed Allah. You see the problem here? So, Ibn Qayyim advice is golden. If we truly apply it, myself now, if I truly apply that, I should be more worried about how do Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do I please Allah? And if Allah is pleased with me. Because if I'm truly worried about that, everything else is secondary. And everything else, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with me, well, what? As Ibn Qayyim said, Allah Jalla wa Ala will fulfill you. You will be content, brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enrich you. You will be enriched. And enriching you is from multiple angles, not just money-wise. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you qana'ah, right? He will give you the right perspective, the mindset to have. You know, many of us miss that mindset. A lot of brothers and sisters don't know how to cope with life. This is not me just saying this just to sound flawed, but it's the truth. A lot of brothers and sisters do not know how to cope with life. Soon as something happen or go haywire, their deen go outside the door. How many sisters who are tested with just throwing off their hijab, right? Because of a situation or circumstances of a relationship. How many of them tested with that? How many brothers who are tested because certain things happen to them, whether financially or different things happen to them, they give up? Multiple people. Just let you know that what? The Iman is not firmly rooted like it needs to be. And we all get tested. But if we were strong in our Iman, we would cleanse to Allah during that time so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow us to remain firm. And that we don't shift, our focus and things like that. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to get rid of the worries of the dunya, of risk, as well as the anxiety of the future, and allow us to focus on pleasing only Him so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can enrich us. That's what I wanted to share today, inshallah ta'ala. Just a brief reminder that I came across those words of Ibn Qayyim really, that really touched me, and I hope it touched you this morning. So while you're going about your work and going about your day, think about those words, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. Think about those particular words. 9 times out of 10, the problems that you're going through right now is minute when it comes to, are you pleasing Allah or are you worrying about the creation? If you're worrying about the creation, you need to change that, because the creation is stressing you out. That's their nature. That's the nature of the creation itself. It's to stress you out. Our train was definitely from myself. The shaitan whoever says correct from Allah Jalla wa Ala. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.